Welcome back to Holistic Flow. I am your girl, Lolo. In this video, I'm going to answer a couple questions that I've gotten about flat locks. First question is, I get asked, do I have flat locks? Second question is, for those who don't want flat locks, how do they prevent them? Whichever stage they're in. I can tell you right now, it's easier when you're in the beginning stage, but we'll get to that later. And then the third thing, what causes flat locks? So I can know how to, again, prevent them. So to know all those questions, keep watching. Before we get into it, if you are new here to my channel, hello. Here on Holistic Flow, we are creating a safe space, a space for self-love, self-growth, and maturity. And we're taking a journey towards an overall better mind, body, and spirit connection. If you're with that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you know whenever I upload a new video. After you have done that, thank you so much. Let's get right into it. So the answer to the first question, yes, I do have flat locks. Probably not as many as I would think. Most of my locks are not flat. I've had my locks for 2 years now. It's been 2 years since November 2022. So I started in November 2020, and ever since then, I kind of like I retwisted for about 6 months, and then I stopped retwisting. When I stopped retwisting, I did see a little bit more flatness in my locks. I'll also talk about that. However, I do have 70, I lied, I have 68 locks now because I combined a few. And if you want to see that video, tab, check out the tab. So the reason why I think that I have flat locks is because I semi-freeform. I don't retwist or palm roll. Another reason that I think I have flat locks is because of the texture of my hair. So I'll explain both of those. First of all, when you don't retwist or palm roll your locks takes the most natural shape that it can ever take. When you look at most freeform locks, I would venture to say all freeform locks, any freeform locks, they'll probably be flat more than likely. And I think it's because naturally, Afro textured hair takes the form of an S shape. Even if it's as small as 4C, it takes the shape of an S shape most likely, sometimes a curl or coil or a mix of both. In my head personally, I have a mix of both. So if you think about like an S shape is like, it's an S, right? So it is, but when you uncoil an S shape or when you watch it bounce back into the form, if you lie an S shape flat on a piece of paper, if I lie it here flat, it's not really going to be a 3-dimensional shape. It's going to be 2-dimensional because it's going to lie flat on my hand versus like a coil, right? A coil is kind of like 3-dimensional because it's more cylindrical. Wow. So if you have more S-shaped coils in your head versus just cylindrical coils, the locks on your head then will probably be more prone to being flat. If you have more so coil dominated hair, then your locks are probably going to take a more cylindrical shape because that is the natural curl pattern of yours. And I got that from another YouTuber, I forgot her name, but I'll put her right here on the screen so you can go check out her video too. I thought it was very helpful. So that pretty much answers the question of like, why do flat locks happen? I think there are a lot more reasons, such as if you tie your hair down at night really tightly. I recommend not using a do-rag. The reason why is because the do-rag basically presses your locks against your head. It compresses them. So especially the root of our hair, it's the most baby part of our lock at all times. Like the end of our lock is going to be the oldest. And this is no matter what stage you are in your lock journey. The roots are not locked yet. So they're the most malleable part of your locks. If you take a do-rag and tie them down at night and you're just compressing your locks down to your head, then most likely they might start to grow flat. Another reason is if you're going to sleep with your hair wet, if your roots are still damp. And this is different from everybody too, because a lot of people, their roots dry last when they air dry their locks, right? My roots have always dried last. And so if you go to sleep with damp hair and maybe you feel the ends of your locks and you're like, oh, my ends are dry, I'm about to go to sleep. But you don't really feel in where your roots are. You don't notice that they're still damp or they're still wet and you go to sleep. then you might end up with flat locks. Also, you might end up with a little bit of a moldy smell, which you don't want either. So just make sure your locks are completely dried all the way through. I don't recommend using heat, but the last most prevalent reason that I think that flat locks happen is, I kind of alluded to it before, but you are freeforming or semi-freeforming. Like every freeform head of locks that I've ever seen has at least some, flat locks. And I think that that's kind of the texture, or that's the shape that our hair takes naturally. Even though locks are the most natural style that natural hair can take, sometimes we still adapt to Europeanized standards of how our hair should look like. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with palm rolling or retwisting your hair if you like that look, if you really enjoy that look. However, I think it's just the standard of how we like our hair to look. Sometimes we like to kind of manipulate it to our liking and make it look, quote unquote, nice and neat. If you have more so semi-free form where you don't retwist, or you still do some type of maintenance, you still may separate your locks so that they stay in sections like I do, but you don't retwist, you're not really manipulating your hair in a way that you're shaping it. Like when you palm roll, you're basically making it into a roll, into a cylindrical shape. So if you're not doing that, then your hair is probably not going to take that shape because it naturally is going to be flat. All of my flat locks on my head are mostly the thickest locks on my head. And that's probably because since I don't retwist or palm roll, the thickest locks have the most area to spread out. So when I do go to sleep, I probably sleep on the same side every single evening, which I'm not going to rotate sides just because, I actually like having flat locks. I don't see any problem with them whatsoever. Like you see this lock right here, this is probably the thickest lock in my whole head. And it is the flattest lock probably on my whole entire head. So the thicker your locks are going to be, probably the flatter they're going to be. This is another one that is flat all the way until the end. So that is probably the last reason why. It's because you have really thick locks and you also don't retwist your locks. However, this lock right here, it is pretty thick, but it's not that flat. Like it's actually pretty cylindrical. And I don't know, I can't really explain that. This lock is pretty thick, but so is this one. They're probably about the same thickness. This one on my right side is flat, and this one on my left side of my head is not flat. So I don't know. I really don't know what that is about. Maybe because this one on my left side is flat as well, but this one is still on my left side and it is not flat. So sometimes there are just like phenomenons that I can't explain with my locks. I don't remember like really which side I sleep on more than the other, but I'm pretty sure it's my right side. Ho, stop right there. Have you heard about the perks yet to become a Holistifit meditation member? No? Let me catch you up to speed then. My business, Holistifit Meditation, is geared towards those who want to relieve anxiety, relieve stress, get clear about their goals in life, and move toward the goals without much obstruction with mental clutter. To deepen your journey toward an overall holistic mind, body, and spirit connection and a more holistically fit life. When you become a member, you get access to new instructional content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yoga videos, live guided meditation sessions in the morning, live stream community Q&A calls, and wellness checkups every month. Plus, you'll get bonus instructional videos to just help you guide you more so along your journey. Deepen your meditation practice, your breath work, and in your yoga journey. It's also very beginner friendly, so it covers prop usage of modifications and poses, and makes it a lot more inclusive for different body shapes and sizes. You can become a member by going to the link in my description box, or just go to my website at holistifitmeditation.com, and I hope to see you practicing with me soon. So now that we've answered why do you get flat locks and do I have flat locks, the answer is yes. Then now, how do you prevent flat locks if you don't want them? Well, number one, I think I should say that there's nothing wrong with flat locks. Again, because of like European nice standards, I think a lot of people may think that flat locks don't look good, that they are undesirable, and I think it's like a preference, which there's nothing wrong with the preference. It's just your perception, your viewpoint. I personally never have tried to make my locks not flat. So I knew from the time that I stopped retwisting, which was 6 months into my lock journey, I knew from the time then that I would probably get flat locks. It doesn't mean that your locks are growing incorrectly. It actually means that your locks are growing as naturally as they can. And I just think that there could be a little bit more of a better perception about how our locks naturally want to grow. And I don't think there should be a negative perception around flat locks. Because there's literally nothing wrong with it. But if you don't want flat locks, here are some ways that you can prevent it. And it is better to, like I said in the beginning, catch it in the beginning of your lock journey, maybe before the first 8-month mark, because after 8 months, at least in my experience, 8 months is the checkpoint to where I saw my locks start to, lock for real. Like they started maturing. So if you're in that beginning stage, you actually have an advantage because your locks are more malleable, because they aren't as mature, they aren't as solid all the way through. So because they're more malleable, things that you can do is on your wash days, when your hair is still damp, you can palm roll your locks. You can spray them with some extra water and start to kind of take them in between your hands and rub back and forth gently. That is a part of people's retwisting routine. If they retwist, you can not retwist but still palm roll your hair. If you do want to semi-freeform your hair but you don't want to retwist, you can just separate your locks at the root. So again, while they're still damp or wet, you can go in and separate the parts, maybe pull apart, or separate the sections, not retwist, and then just go down the length of the lock, and at the roots, palm roll here, palm roll here, palm roll here, and then palm roll down the length of your locks until you get the desired cylindrical shape that you want. So because one main reason that people actually have flat locks is because they go to sleep with wet hair, something that you could do to make your hair dry quicker if you're air drying is something that I started doing a long while ago. And it is to put your locks in sections, especially if you have thick locks. Thicker locks probably tend to dry slower. I don't know, I don't have any scientific evidence behind it, but I think it's true. But you could just put your hair in sections. So whether it's like 2 sections, 3 sections, I actually have a YouTube short about how I do this. I just put it in 2 sections, 2 ponytails here, and then I leave the back out so that the bottom or the back of my hair can dry first, because the roots of my hair dry last. So I really try to get the roots of my hair to dry first, and then I let the ends of my hair dry, and that seems to really help. Another thing you could do is, again, not wear tight head, anything that goes on your head, so like tight hats or tight scarves, bonnets. Wear a loose bonnet. I personally, starting out, I had a jumbo bonnet, I had like a loose lock bonnet. So anything that's loose when you're sleeping at night, the reason why is because like our cells are regenerating at night. We're basically growing in our sleep all the time. And when you are in those beginning stages, your locks expand and they contract. They expand and they contract because they're trying to lock up. So one day they might look really fluffy, thicker, and then maybe a week or 2 later they might look a little bit thinner, and that's because they're in the expand and contract phase and they're trying to mature. So while they're doing that, you don't want to always have them compressed down to your head with like a do-rag or like a tight scarf, or even hairstyles like tight buns and stuff. So that's why you don't want to wear like tight hairstyles, tight things when you go to sleep at night. Really allow your locks to breathe and have that air and have that room to grow. All in all, if you are in the mature stages and you already feel like you have flat locks and there is nothing that you can do about it, don't worry, don't fret. Like there are still things that you can do to make them malleable. Like on your wash days, maybe you want to palm roll more so, or you would want to maybe retwist a few locks but not your whole head. And also on the contrary, if you are in the beginning stages and you don't want flat locks, don't worry as well. There are always things that you can do. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with flat locks. There has been just a negative connotation around flat locks for, I don't know, whatever reason that I've never understood. But all in all, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like these. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and your friends. All right, y'all. Peace.